something that has no rights. And that's why we fall into the trap of these stupid little regulations, stipulations, statutes, and acts that have no bearing on a human being. But since we represent a corporation and we choose to unwittingly, then we have no rights under the Constitution at that point, and anything could happen. No matter what it is, even if it's unconstitutional, we're not protected under the Constitution. So when people go into court, they're waving the little Constitution pamphlet around, saying this is unconstitutional. This is you're not protecting my rights. You're talking to a corporation. It's like going into McDonald's and waving that pamphlet around and screaming that they're not protecting your rights. It's not their job. It's not a corporation's job to protect your rights. It's your duty to uphold your own rights and to realize how to uphold your own rights. So a corporation isn't going to give a crap if you go in there screaming about your rights. They're going to say, well, are you this person? And you look at the name and you say, well, yeah, I mean, that's me. And they say, okay, on with the court, on with trial. And they legally are allowed to do whatever they want because you legally wrote your name down, waiving your rights because you're saying, yes, I am representing something that has no constitutional right. So that's really what it is. But the reason why I mentioned that Canada is not the land up there, because if you were to speak to any native, if you were to speak to the Blackfoot or any other tribe in Canada, the name of the land which they live in, it's actually called Turtle Island. All of North America is called Turtle Island, at least to the natives. Like when I was getting married, my wife and I went out to the Lakota tribe, the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota, and they down here in the States recognize this as Turtle Island, and they're speaking of the entire continent. So in the United States, you have a social security number, and in Canada you have a SIN number, a social identification number, and you need that number in order to board the citizenship, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what it is.
All right, we're coming up on another break. On the other side, I want to talk with you, Ben, about solutions and your thoughts on physical retaliation. Should we grab our guns and gold? We'll get to that on the other side. So it doesn't seem that no matter how green we decide to turn our corporations, no matter how what messiah we tend to put into office, we're running downhill. We're running into a catastrophe, a calamity. It absolutely seems to be the case. But at the same time, it appears that, everything that we're doing is a thought game. Everything has brought us to this situation has just been implanted into our minds. And this idea of scarcity and running around trying to just grab what's yours and hold on to it is a bigger problem than the solution. The solution that we have is this possibility of simply changing our mind. So what do you think, Ben? Well, first, I want to put out there that if you guys are interested in Ben's work, he has some great films out there, The Esoteric Agenda and Kymatica. Go to talismanicIdols.org and check out his stuff there. Great stuff. New project coming up with Ben that he's working on with the Hangman Project. And, solutions. That's where we're at. Now, are we supposed to join some group, Ben? Are we supposed to find the right people that are leading us to the zeitgeist is suggesting that we put the whole government under control of a central computer? Do you think that's the answer? What do you think?
Well, and it's very interesting that you bring that up. My wife and I and a friend actually attended the zeitgeist movement up in New York. I was really interested, and I wanted to keep an open mind about it. I was a little bit hesitant on it, but I try to keep an open mind on all things. And I went up there to New York, actually, and sat in on, I think it was about a 3-hour lecture, and then there was quite a Q&A afterwards with Peter Joseph, I think her name was Roxanne, and there was Jacques Fresco. And ease a lot of my worries about what the Venus Project actually was about, in a sense. But the one thing I would have to say, at least about that, about any other type of idea of having a movement or a revolution or a rebellion, is, now, I mean, the Zeitgeist movement in general, I think, is probably the most ingenious thing that I've noticed, in the sense of the way that what they're proposing actually does touch base on every topical thing that there is out there, that every topical problem that we're seeing. But the reason why I say topical is because it's just that. It's, to me, fundamentally, you cannot eliminate scarcity, because scarcity still is a symptom. And that's really the theme that I run on with all of it. When you try and integrate yourself into a different political party, or when you try and hop around from a different social structure to another, or try and integrate yourself, into a system or out of a system, such as the legal system. I mean, what it really has to do with is, it's like swatting at mosquitoes to try and clean up a stagnant pond. It's not going to do anything when you're working on a topical level, because you're not working at the source of it. And so the first thing I try to stress is that I do not oppose anything. I do not oppose the Zeitgeist movement. I do not oppose any political party. I don't oppose any religion. I really do not oppose any of that. And the reason for introducing the Hanged Man Project that I've just recently put up on talismanicidols.org is something that at least allows you can still act, you can still be a part of, whatever you were a part of before. If you want to do something, if you want to, wave picket signs around, or sign petitions, that's fine, as long as you know deep down inside, as long as you understand why you are doing it, a fundamental reason as to why you are doing it. Are you doing it because it makes you feel more comfortable, in the sense that you don't have to change a thing within you, you just want the outside world to change? Because that is what I've been noticing as a problem, even within me. I'm on the same path as everybody else, but what I notice is the fact that it really is this form of vice, hopping from one form of bondage to another. And whether it be the Zeitgeist movement, or whether it be the Libertarian Party, or whether it be anarchy, it doesn't matter what it really is, as long as you understand that you are working towards freedom, not just physically, but spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, all of it together. If you are working towards true, authentic freedom, then I have no problem with anything that you come accustomed to, anything that you involve yourself in, because that is the point when you will reach non-compliance, because you will be working from a self-governing organism. You're not dependent upon something, so there can be no manipulation, because manipulation only comes based upon supply and demand. So if you are working on your own intuition, on your own true, self-understanding, then you are a self-governing organism, and you're not going to need a false savior, a false revolution, or a messiah. You're not going to need any of those things, because you are self-sustaining within yourself. And then that's not to say that we're all loners and we're all separate from each other, because there's a difference between independence, dependence, and interdependence. Because once you become independent, then you realize what interdependence is realizing that we are a whole. We are one organism, being this earth, and we do have a responsibility and a duty to at least bestow upon others. Like, if you're looking at it in the sense of the Kabbalah, you move from the will to receive to the will to bestow. And once you come to a certain understanding of what freedom is, it really does become a duty, not enforced upon you, but from within, to bestow that understanding upon other people, and to allow other people to become independent and then interdependent. And so from that, I really want to stress the point that, again, I am not opposed to or against any revolution, any rebellion, any movement, any system, any organization, any establishment whatsoever, because you really wouldn't need to be opposed to any of that if you do not feel the fear that it might have some authority over you. So in that sense, I absolutely believe that we are on the right path. I truly believe I have the highest hopes for humanity. I really do believe that this is a learning process and we're not facing imminent doom. We're not facing a huge catastrophe because all we're really facing is ourselves and we're facing our own fears and it's playing out on the world stage. And until we realize it, nothing's going to change. Nothing is going to change on a topical level. I don't care how many revolutions, how many tyrants we pull down, how many governments